Welcome, 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 everyone. I'm so glad that you are here on this Monday, Indigenous People Day, a holiday. I hope you're enjoying it. And again, I'm glad that you're here. We have a great show planned for you on Lemon Live at 5. Welcome to the show. As Vice President Kamala Harris continues her media blitz, Donald Trump is spouting off some of the most deranged, dangerous rhetoric of his entire political career. This weekend, he even suggested that he deploy the military in American streets to crack down on any protest in response to him winning the White House. That's just the beginning. There's more. Despite all of this, two brand new polls are suggesting that the presidential race is perhaps tighter than it has been in months. That's not what you wanted to hear, but we're going to talk about it. Maybe there's some good news in it. What the hell is going on? Here to help me with all of this, to wrap my head and your heads around all of this, my brilliant panel. A brilliant Bulwark panel, I should say, because they're all both from the Bulwark. Sarah Longwell is here. She's a veteran political strategist, a former national board chair of the Log Cabin Republicans, and a current publisher of the Bulwark. Welcome, Sarah Longwell. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Mr. Michael Steele is a former RNC chairman and a former lieutenant governor of Maryland, a political analyst for MSNBC. And the host of the Michael Steele podcast on the Bulwark. And we had a fascinating conversation just days ago, which I say went viral. It was great. Good to see both of you. So we're in the home stretch. How are you feeling, Sarah Longwell? And Michael, I'm going to ask Sarah a couple more questions in the beginning than you, because I only have her for a limited amount of time. Okay. Yeah, and you and I are going to talk about, this is Black History Week. This is February for the for the Harris campaign. All right, Sarah, how are you feeling in this home stretch?
Well, since I'm basically, I've become a Democrat now. I think what I've caught from working with Democrats is that this is the bedwetting phase, right? This is the part where, Republicans don't do this we don't panic the way that Democrats do. And so the more I spend time with Democrats, the more I kind of it's like contagious. I had to get rubber sheets for my mattress, and it's all very nerve-wracking. And just emails constantly of everybody being like, "How you feeling? How you feeling?" And I think that there's this induces panic amongst each other, right? It's like the way conventional wisdom spread. It's like panic spreads this way. And look, I don't feel awesome because Donald Trump is an existential threat to the United States and our democracy. And so, when the stakes are so high, you shouldn't feel good ever. And you don't feel good when things are as close as they are. Now, just because I don't feel good and just because I'm scared, though, doesn't mean that it's a dire situation. You'd still rather be her than him. She is still up in the key states. She's holding her numbers with older white voters, which I think was the demographic I was the most concerned about in the early days when the switcheroo happened. But she's doing great. I mean, she's blowing the doors off with college-educated voters.
If I can jump in here, you really do, because look, if you I listen to these strategy meetings on two-way, what I'm talking about, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, Trump's got the momentum. I'd rather be him than her at this point. By the way, Sarah, you still consider yourself a Republican, right?
I'm more like a renegade independent these days. I think Michael still wants to hang out with the tribe, but it's too hard when Trump controls the Republican Party to stay part of the brand for me.
I just want to make sure that I don't want to refer to you. I don't want to misparty you. Okay.
Well, I still believe in limited governments, free markets, and American leadership in the world. Whether those are Republican values anymore remains to be seen.
No, I think that's probably more independent values now. I think Republicans have completely put themselves over into the MAGA party, have morphed into the MAGA party, and not slowly, but very quickly. Okay, so I appreciate that. Michael, I'm going to get you in. Michael's still a Republican. Sarah is a Republican-ish independent now. So let's put the polls up, because Sarah is right. I've always said, and I think it's not my saying, but people have said as well, Democrats wet the bed, Republicans fall in line, right? So Democrats are now wetting the bed and they're nervous. Here's some of the polls. The new poll, NBC poll, Harris gets support from 48% of registered voters. Trump gets an identical 48%. That is a notable change from September NBC News poll, which found Harris leading Trump by 5 points, which is 49 to 44%. Meanwhile, that's why I think Republicans are saying he's got the momentum now, but we'll see, because he's still, he's up and she's down if you're looking at what happened in the NBC poll between September, and now. Meanwhile, a CBS News YouGov poll conducted from October 8th to 11th found Harris ahead of Trump by 3 percentage points, with the vice president garnering 51% support from registered voters to Trump's 48%. And I should note that's within the margin of error. However, it is also a smaller lead than Harris held over Trump in September's CBS poll. So I'm curious to know what both of you think about this polling. It's tightening. Is it tightening or is it an illusion? Because the 538 polling aggregate seems to suggest that it's the latter, that it is just an illusion. It's not tightening. You, Sarah, and then Michael.
Yeah, I think what happened is she got a big bump coming out of the debate. And some of that has come back down to earth. Now, because Democrats had such a big spending advantage as well, Democrats started dumping their ads late. And so that may be having a little bit of an impact. Here's the thing.
Yes.
Like I said, she's holding her numbers with these white voters, these older white voters. And guess where they live? They live in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Nebraska too. I am much less in this election. There's a lot of conventional wisdom about, okay, she's got to be up by 4 points nationally in order to win. And I am like, I'm not looking at that anymore, because I think those national numbers are getting skewed by the fact that Trump is overperforming in places like Florida, in places like Texas, California. That's right. Where it doesn't matter. We're at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nebraska too. That's the ball game. And she is up in all of those. And this is why I'd rather be her than him. She's still doing well there. Biden won him last time. I feel okay about that path.
Okay. Mr. Steele?
Yeah, I trust the lady who's actually talking to voters as opposed to spending 5 minutes on a phone call with them or 10 minutes. I think Sarah's analysis.
Michael, real quick before, does it matter that he is, popping in and out of Coachella and whatever and using people as props for a photo op?
No, because I don't think so. I mean, look, Donald Trump is going to do Donald Trump stuff.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have that baked in. I mean, he's going to be at Madison Square Garden at the end of October. Why? Well, I don't know. It doesn't make sense if you're its campaign manager to put your campaign when you need battleground states to go to a non-battleground state, because Donald Trump believes he actually can win New York. So look, there have been since the debate, since the switch, those two events, there have been two campaigns for Trump. One that LaCivita and Wiles want to run, and two, the one that Donald Trump is running. So at the end of the day, they're going to do things in the next few weeks that just even defy the plan that LaCivita and company have in play, because Donald Trump has in his mind how he's going to win. Fine. I think, though, the race is where Sarah says it is. I think it is tight, yes, and it does piss me off a bit to see numbers, because sometimes the numbers can confuse and lead people to believe something that isn't necessarily true when they say, oh, it's now 48-48. What these polls, especially the national polls, are not taking into account, and this is where you listen to someone like Sarah, they're not taking into account people who just registered, people who the 400, 800, a million people that have registered in the last 6-8 weeks since the switch, who are followed Taylor Swift and said, yes, let me click on after the great performance at the National Convention for Democrats to sign up. Those folks aren't showing up in national polling. Those folks aren't readily identifiable. You don't sign up through Taylor Swift's, site and then not vote, right? So there's a level of energy.
Donald Trump.
Right, you're not voting for Donald Trump. So there's a level of energy there that's not accurately captured, which is why I've never been a fan of national polls. And 2016 proved that.
Yeah.
But I think, look, the race is close. It will be. The turnout models will matter. They do matter. The ground gaming here does matter. Keep in mind, there are a lot of Republicans doing this right now, Don, because guess what? They brought in Laura Trump, who knows jack about running campaigns. They fired the staff that kind of put together the plan to run the operations on the ground because they wanted to capture the money. They don't have the ground game. I talked to state party officials in the Republican Party. A lot of them aren't happy because they don't have resources to keep up and to compete.
Well,
so it's not just the top, it's the down ballot races that are going to be impacted as well.
Yeah, but I mean, look, there's still, look at the polling still, and even without that, and I agree with you about Lara Trump. It's like, wait, what? Also, hey, quickly though, Sarah, and I think I've heard you talk about this. I know Tim Miller has talked about it on the Bulwark about, Trump going for the manosphere. Michael mentioned, these people, the Taylor Swift, right, voter, not being picked up in polling. Are the Aiden Ross voters being picked up in polling? The Theo Von folks being picked up in polling as well?
Yeah, I think they are. And I think this is, and this is fundamentally why I believe that Kamala Harris is going to eke this out ultimately. And it is this: to the extent that this is becoming a girls versus boys election, and the polling, especially for the younger voters, shows an enormous stratification, just an enormous gap between men and women. And it's because they live in completely different media ecosystems, right? The men are living in these Theo Von, Joe Rogan ecosystems, and women are, I guess, call her daddy. That's not something I was familiar with until Kamala Harris did it. But they just live in these different media ecosystems. But here's the thing: if you had to stake your election on young men turning out, young men of all colors, that's who you're going to turn out in high proportion, or on women turning out. Which would you rather be doing better with? And I would take women, not only because I think they're more reliable voters, but also because there's just more of them. There's more of them and they vote at a higher rate. And so I would rather take women over men. They have the Trump campaign has completely abdicated women, trying to even get them, and they are just trying to pump up the numbers with these men. I think a lot of them, they're doing something else on election day.
Can I just contextualize that?
Let me just say that you can. I would just say, especially you want black women on your side always, because they are the most loyal voters. But go on.
So this is how this plays out. Brother gets up on election day and he's like, I've got my Trump on, I'm gonna do my thing, and he gets his
wife is like, no, you ain't.
and he goes and he pulls up to the polling place and he sees a line that's 6 hours long. You think that brother's gonna stand in that line? Now, when he got other business to take care of, no, that issue's not happening. Trust me. So Sarah's exactly right. His girl will stand there. His wife will stand there. His mother will stand there. His sister will stand there. But he is not taking 6 hours out of his day plus to stand in a line to vote for Donald Trump. And to Sarah's point, when that's what you're relying on, and that's what you're going to try to turn out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon after you get the midday results, that's what you're going to try to turn out at 5 o'clock when you get the afternoon results in. That's going to be really hard. And, okay, he's going to show up after work and then stand in the polls because there's a 4-hour line yet. And they say, we're going to keep everybody in line until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. It's just a different mindset because those male voters have not been groomed to participate in the process, which is a whole nother conversation we can have. But the reality of it is, if that's your go-to, a pair of gold LeMay sneakers ain't going to be enough.
Yeah.
And I'll just add on this women point, one of the numbers that I've been watching closely is how much better Kamala Harris is doing than Joe Biden with white non-college women, right? These white non-college women have historically, they've been breaking for Trump. But one of the reasons that she's doing 4 or 5 points better, which again is really important in the kind of states that she has to win, that is likely the effect of Dobbs. And so just Donald Trump has not been on a ballot since Dobbs happened. And I think with sort of secular working class women, Dobbs is really important. And these are not people who can afford to just, I'm just going to travel to a different state. Like, they care about this issue. And maybe it's not overwhelming, but enough to earn her a 4 or 5 point bump with that group. Well, that is big in a state like Pennsylvania or Michigan. So that is what keeps me, I guess, calm in a lot of this.
Okay, same. Okay, now it sounds strange to a lot of men, especially young men, when I tell them this and they say, what is your issue? I said, I'm a one issue voter. I mean, look, I know that there are many things that matter, but what matters most to me in this upcoming election is a woman's right to choose. And I can say selfishly, because if they come for a woman's right to choose, what is to say that they won't come for me as a gay man for my right to be able to get married, or as a black man for any other rights? So if you take a woman's right away to be able to do with her own body what she and her doctor decide needs to be done, that is problematic for me as a man.
So the rest is easy.
Right. So the rest is easy. And and also in that vein, the Supreme Court matters to me. I would prefer a balanced Supreme Court. I wouldn't want a Supreme Court, quite frankly, that's too liberal. I wouldn't want one that's too conservative. I think we need some balance in the Supreme Court. And the next president is going to it's really going to decide the balance, you know what I mean, of the Supreme Court. So that is what I'm voting on. And I have been asking my subscribers and anyone to tune in, women, talk to your man, talk to your mans, and tell him, because the stats show, I'm not being sexist, women take care of the households. Yep. They buy all the products in the house. They decide everything that goes in the house, the kids, whatever, the soccer unit, all of that. And so talk to your guys and say, look, this is important to me. So I don't want to preach to women, but that's what I would like men to sit back, put themselves in whatever woman is in their life, whether it's their mom, their aunt, their sister, or their girlfriend, or their wives, and think about what it would be like to be in their shoes. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Sarah, before you go, I just want to get one thing in here that I think is really, really important. And this is something about Joe Biden. It took a while to catch on. Did you see Kamala Harris's interview on The View last week?
I saw the clip that I think you're going to reference on the
yes,
View.
Which is, do I need to play it, or do you want to respond to it? Because I'll just play it for time. Okay. Sunny Hostin, who is a co-host of The View, said, what would you have done different, basically, than the current president, Joe Biden? And she said, I don't really see, there's not that I wouldn't have done anything, but there's nothing that comes off of the top of my head or comes to mind at this point. Was that a mistake?
Yeah, although not as catastrophic as I think some people thought at the time. I think by now people thought that it was going to wind up in a lot of the Trump ads because they've been so trying, desperately to tie her to Joe Biden because they think he's an anchor around her. And I think in some ways that could be true. Because look, Joe Biden owns this economy in a way that she's able to be forward-looking about the economy. She's able to be forward-looking about lots of things. I've always thought, though, that the reason that the Trump campaign cannot make her into a Joe Biden incumbent is because she just seems so different than Joe Biden. Like, you got an 82-year-old white guy and you've got, a 60-year-old black woman who, has her own ideas and is pitching herself. And I think when I listen to voters in the focus groups, when they talk about Kamala Harris, the swing voters, the things that they say always about her is they're like, she seems like a breath of fresh air. Ooh, something new. Like, I do think so many of the elections we've had have come down to change, and Trump knows this. This is why they want her to be perceived as an incumbent. But she is really getting heard on her own terms, which is why I think if this comes down to, do people want change, they go for her over Trump.
Okay. One more thing quickly for you, Sarah. I want to talk about her media blitz. She did Howard Stern last week. Call her daddy. The founding member of the Daddy Gang, Bill Kristol, loved that, right? She also did a joke. Yeah. She also did what did I say? The View, as we mentioned, and she did some other podcasts like Luther Campbell and what have you. And now she's going on Fox and she's going to do Brett Baier on Wednesday. So what do you think? Do you think do you like that she's going into the lion's den? I do.
Yeah, no, I love it. And look, more is more. More is more. Like, she's the one, right, that people don't know as well. And so she's got to do two things right now. She's got to make people comfortable with her, right? She's got to keep crossing that presidential threshold, getting people to look at her as presidential, doing some of this stuff where she is in direct conflict, where people see it as tough, like, okay, going into the lion's den. That's the kind of stuff that she's got to be doing.
Should she go on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, she should go on everything. She should go on everything. But I'll tell you, here's the thing with her. She does her best when she is loose. And so, like, she is at her best when she's doing non-traditional media. She was great on Howard Stern, right? She was great on Call Her Daddy. And so I think that it's good to do these things, but like the people watching Fox News, this is more of a posture. This is more saying I can do hard things. I'm not afraid of you. Donald Trump is the one, cowering. So I think it's a good move. But like in terms of really reaching voters, people watching MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News have largely made up their mind at this point. Right. Like you got to go to the people for whom politics is not like a sport that they participate in all the time. It's not an identity. And they're going to vote on things that are not, they're going to vote a little bit more on vibes. Who do I like? Who do I feel like represents change? And so more Rogan. I mean, Brett Baer's fine too.
Yeah,
but I think
I agree. Let me say goodbye to Sarah, and then Michael, it's going to be me and you. Sarah, thank you. I appreciate it because I know you got to go. You had a time constraint. So thank you.
All right, you guys. Michael's good. You guys will be great.
Yeah,
you guys will be great.
Sarah's giving us her blessing.
Yeah.
Bye, Sarah. Thank you so much. I appreciate. Say hi to everybody over
there. Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Michael. What did you want to say?
No, I think Sarah's exactly right there. So I want two things I want to touch on real quick that you covered with her. One, about being number two, having been a number two, and having served somewhat in the shadows of a governor. Kamala serving in the shadows of a president. You don't get to break out bad and do your own thing. You don't get to have your own quote policies. You don't get to really say much beyond what you have to convey on behalf of the ticket. Right. So when you're asked in a situation like that, would you do anything different? It's a trap. It's a trap. Yes, you are running for the job, but you're still working for the guy who's in the job. And so it's a very fine line to walk. There's something she probably could have posited and said, I think I want to expand a little bit on this, or maybe try a little bit on that. And so her people, I don't think prepared her well to answer that question. Not a like say Sarah.
That's what I was going to ask. You think she should have had a better answer?
I think she could have had a stronger answer.
That was a stronger, easy answer. Look, I'm not part of the Biden-Harris ticket, but I'm not Joe Biden. There are things that I would do. Of course, there are things that I would have done differently than Joe Biden, but I'm not going to sit here and go through particulars. But yeah, I'm not Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so I think from that standpoint, she could have been a little bit better prepped to answer with that. And I think on the Fox News thing, she's absolutely right. You're both right. She's going into a space where everybody's pretty much made up her mind. But for the folks who haven't, they look at that and they go, damn, she's doing something that the other guy won't do. And they like that. They like that sort of adventurism, that risk-taking on behalf of candidates to put themselves in uncomfortable positions. They know Fox is uncomfortable for her. So those voters that she may see on The View, or who watched her on The View, or watched her on Howard Stern, that reinforces a good vibe they may have gotten from her in those interviews.
Yeah. So listen, we're here. It's just us. We can talk about black stuff. I'm kidding. Joking. Sarah's very equipped to talk about that as well. I'm just having fun, y'all.
Yes, yeah.
Well, let's talk about black people. I kind of joked at the beginning saying this was Black History Week, right? Like this is February for the Harris campaign. But I mean, she is unveiling her, the Black agenda. This is a tweet that you posted. Okay, I'm going to put up your quote. You said the conventional approach to this campaign must end. Time to flip the script. Trump must be effectively pulling Kamala's floor at or below his ceiling of 47%. Trump has to be effectively pulling Kamala's floor at or below his ceiling of 47%. Trump's closing message is not about America as it is a shining city on the hill, but rather a hellscape of recriminations because his feelings are hurt. He calls those who oppose him criminals, sick people, lunatics. That his political opponents should be handled by the National Guard, the military. He believes America is being occupied. He is lying about stealing FEMA money, and 48% of Americans agree with him. What you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is America needs to get their head out the ass and pay attention to what's about to happen, because when we go back to this, it doesn't get better. Mm-hmm. And the fact that 48% of Americans using the NBC poll of 48-48 tie between the two should say a lot about us as opposed to the candidates. Mm-hmm. Because there are a lot of people that are buying what Donald Trump is selling, and we need to be honest about that as a country.
Yeah.
And we need to be honest that even within our own Black community, and this is what you and I talked about on my podcast, when you flip the script on me, which I love, Don Lemon doing Don Lemon things. And we talked about, the Black Republican who's shilling the kind of bull that does not help our community. And so if we need to be, if we're going to move the needle on any of this, we need to be honest. So Donald Trump's play in these up to this point, and absolutely in these next 3 weeks, these next 22 days, is to pull her ceiling below his floor, right? Because he needs to pull her down, pull her floor down below his ceiling. He's
right
at 47%. He's not topping that. She's 51, 52, potentially more. So he's got to pull that floor that she has beneath his ceiling in order for him to win this race.
And he's going to go crazy trying to do it. But yeah,
and he's going to go crazy trying to do it. That has been his end game from the beginning. And it's reflected in the fact that this national polling, going back to what we said before about discounting and not including necessarily people who are newly registered, at least shows there is a predilection among at least close to half of the American population that like that. I don't know what the hell they think is going to happen next, Don. I really don't. What they think, what this country looks like come January of 2026 and 27, oof, I don't know. But we already have an idea because we've walked through that. And he's telling us through Project 2025, he's telling us through his desire to become a dictator. And by what I listed in that tweet, how he views his political opponents. So it's, for me, this is the moment where everyone needs to open their eyes and clear whatever crap they got in and out. That no, the economy for you was not better under Trump because you lost someone dearly due to COVID, mm-hmm, and you shut down your business or lost your job. Mm-hmm. And the reality of it is, the recovery was hard and somewhat steep at times, but here we are. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's time to give credit where it is due, because if Donald Trump had an additional 4 years, where the hell do you think we would be right now? Mm-hmm. Certainly, we would probably be engaged in a theater of war in Europe because Putin would be marching towards Poland. Mm-hmm. We certainly would be dealing with watching our neighbors and the people we work with and who work for us being rounded up and hauled off out of the country, even though they may be legal. But because their last name ain't Smith and Jones, they got a problem. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to be honest and come correct with ourselves right now. This is no longer for Michael Steele, talking about like Donald Trump talk about himself in the third person. Okay, I'm going to go there for a moment. This ain't about how I'm looking at this anymore, or how Don Lemon is looking at this anymore through the eyes of the presidential candidates. It's how we look at this through our eyes as citizens, mm-hmm, and what kind of country we think we want as we begin to open the next quarter of this century.
Politically, it may be smart to otherize, as you said, their last names are not Smith. Politically, it may be smart, but it's gross, right? Yep. Because when you think about, does our immigration system need to be overhauled? Absolutely. It needs major attention. But you don't have to demonize immigrants in order to do this. I was, having dinner with a bunch of people, and I said, we're all immigrants. Look, I mean, you're immigrants. We're immigrants in a different way, right?
In a different way. Yeah. Yes.
All right. But most people are immigrants, and I find that people want to close the door behind them. Yes, I understand that it's taxing the system in many cities and municipalities, but there is a way to deal with it without demonizing those people. And many of the people, especially the migrants, the people who come here, they're actually adding to the community. They're helping the economy in those communities, and you would never really hear about that coming from Donald Trump. So I just think, especially considering the immigration bill with Jim Lankford of Oklahoma, there could have been a bipartisan consensus on immigration by now, that we were already working to correct a broken system.
Well, to your exact point, we had that plan in place, and it was bipartisan, and it was agreed upon by Democrats and Republicans. The president was ready to sign it, but Donald Trump had his own agenda, and it was about him. And he told Republicans in the House, Mike Johnson and crew, to kill it, and they did. And Langford has been very clear about his dismay and all of that. So again, people, I don't know what else you want us to say. I mean, the evidence is objective. Everybody's bitching about immigration. Well, you had a bill. You had a conservative bill that Joe Biden pushed back on with his more liberal progressive wing to say, I'm going to support this and that I'm prepared to shut down the border. He said that publicly, had the pen ready to do it. But Donald Trump was like, I don't want to give him the win.
Right.
Well, the win wasn't
they needed this narrative that they have now with immigration. Right. They needed this narrative. They also, another thing I find them saying, the whole narrative about black jobs, right? Oh. And so it's interesting to me that now Kamala Harris has found herself in a position where she's trying to win over black men, which you and I discussed before. So this is, as you saw, and I'm sure you've talked about it many times on your show this weekend, and on your podcast, this is the former president, Barack Obama, with his message to the brothers, to black men. Here it is.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. He's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
Okay, and then he goes on. Now, Michael, the criticism is that he is chastising black men, right? Because he goes on to talk about, just saying you should be wanting to support considering the time that we're in and the other person who's in the race, and that this is not good. It's going to backfire.
Well, but wait a minute. He took it further than that. And let's be clear what he said. And I appreciated his hesitation, because if I were in his shoes, I would have thought a minute or two before I said what he said. And I absolutely would have said what he said. Let's break it down. It's about black men not supporting a black woman. And he went there and talked and talked about that tension. You and I talked about that tension. A number of black men have talked about that tension between black men and black women that has been exacerbated in a whole host of ways, for a whole lot of reasons, which we can get into with, a good bottle of bourbon and probably a little extra fun to keep it lively.
It's a tequila for me, but go on.
There you go. That works too. But he went there, and the fact that I think it's an honest conversation, and I appreciated him saying it. I had no criticism of Barack Obama saying what he said, because it's about time we be honest with each other as black men about the situation. And there is, I said this to Don Calloway recently, and I said, there's this perceived jealousy and between the black female and the black male, black men, young men especially, looking at their young black female counterparts surpassing them and being leveled up more than them. And it goes to a condition in this country that still keeps the black male at the bottom of the rung. At the end of the day, there's still more of that struggle for him than for her. And that's an honest piece that needs to get addressed. How young black men are educated in our public school systems and our school systems writ large. I went through that with my sons and how teachers approach them sometimes. I watched my nephew, who is now in his 20s, when he was in elementary school, and how teachers approached him. And so my point is, I'm not talking 30, 40 years ago. I'm talking 15 years ago. So the system is still what the system is when it comes to our community. So yeah, Barack, do your thing. You broke open that a little bit. And I think it's important for him to do that. And so I got the criticism, and I looked at the people who were doing the criticizing and said, you're not being honest. Because you just want to keep it all cocooned for what? For what? So let's call it out. So that's where I am. Charles
Blow tweeted this, if we can put it up. Charles Blow said, if these polls are predictive, because he's showing the polls about black men, right?
Right.
Supporting Donald Trump, not a majority. She's going to get the majority of the black male vote. It's just that more black men, they believe, are going to vote for Donald Trump this time around than historically. If these polls are predictive of the actual vote, this will be extraordinary and historic. I would even say earth-shattering. This slide, according to the polls, is being led by black men who, if they vote the way they say they will vote in these polls, will start to vote more like the men of all other races. I'm afraid that shaming and chastising them won't fix this. More work will need to be done. This was on his Instagram. And so do you disagree with Charles?
No, I do. I don't think where was the shame? What was the shame and chastising? It was like, look, you've got, what's your interest here? Donald Trump look, if I said to any black man that your family came from shithole countries, how would you feel? Would you feel, oh yeah, I can support you? If I said to you, hey, let me give you some gold lame sneakers, and I'm going to protect your right to smoke menthol cigarettes when you elect me into office, would you feel good about me? If I said to you, look, yeah, I had this little issue about not letting your grandmother and your grandfather live in my apartment building because I just didn't want black people ruining the place. If I give out my history against your people, against your family, against your interests, where's the interest in you supporting me?
Okay, so here's what, let me just, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. Let me play devil's advocate here, because this is what they're going to say. They're going to say, well, they're all bad. Joe Biden did this, and, she locked up a bunch of black men and whatever, even though it's not true, right? And I don't believe this. Again, sometimes people don't understand analysis, right? They think that this is not my belief. That's what the response will be. And Barack Obama said, I think he answered that response. And what he said is that you're making every excuse in the book except for the obvious one, right? And the obvious one is that you don't want a woman to be president, or you don't want to be president. You're not comfortable with it. And so you're giving all these excuses. You're wrapping yourself into a pretzel to try to rationalize it and give yourself a permission structure to vote for the man. And, I can't say that I disagree with him. I'm just saying. But that would be the response.
That's what I said. I think he went right to the core of it. And he was absolutely right. And look, I appreciate what my brother Charles had to say. And I can appreciate that. I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't see it that way.
That's a difference though between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, is that you and I can agree with Charles, and then he would sit here on this program with us and talk about it, rather than calling us you a rhino or me a dino.
Right, exactly.
So you know what I mean? And you should be kicked out, and you're a threat to democracy or whatever. But
look, I've argued since my early days in Republican politics and more broadly politics generally, that the one thing that has always confounded me is that the African American community has not leveraged the full weight and breadth of the power it has politically, economically, socially, and in ways that will orient the focus of others on the legacy we've already created for this country and for countless families named Kennedy, Rockefeller, etc. Right? And use that leverage in a way in which we not just get more of the economic pie, but claim more of the American promise. and the history that comes from that promise. And so that's part and parcel of the frustration, I think, that some of us have. And so sometimes when you're in a conversation like this, that's what animates me. At the end of the day, I want you to vote whoever you think is going to get best serve your interests. But you can't look at what Kamala's put on the table, and at least what the administration has tried to do on student debt, on getting inflation down, on infrastructure. There are a whole lot of Black construction workers who are working right now. There are a whole lot of Hispanic construction workers who work right now because there's an infrastructure process in place that's creating jobs. You can't look at that and go, oh, well, the other guy promised for 4 years to do an infrastructure plan, but never did one. Oh, the other guy promised, oh, by the way, talk about healthcare. He wants to repeal the healthcare you got. So what you going to do when that's gone? Because you got a pre-existing condition you're not going to qualify for, and there's not going to be no way to cover you. So what's the plan? Okay, so challenge him the way you want to challenge Kamala, right? Challenge Trump to say, okay, all right, set aside the all the stuff that you promised us in terms of protecting my right to smoke menthol cigarettes. Set that aside for a moment. What about these things that are important to us? I look at our public school systems. What did you do for 4 years for public school communities in the Black community? What did you do for economic prosperity? Because don't tell me that program that Tim Scott leveled up during that time, because more white folks took advantage of that than Black folks.
And what was that other plan?
I think Laura Trump got a great deal in a project that she was not Laura. His daughter.
Ivanka.
Ivanka got a great deal on a project in Jersey. So I mean, come on, stop it. Let's be honest.
Are you talking about this platinum plan that people talk about that never went anywhere and wasn't shit? It wasn't. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? It was a joke. Like, really? Come on. And these brothers fell for that too. I want to move and get to this. Wait, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about a different plan?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And can I just sort of a little sidewinder on the back end story of this? Because, I'm still inside the party. And yes, I do have people talk to me. You know why they called it the platinum plan?
Because,
you know why?
Because Black people like platinum? I mean, what? I don't know.
Because it sounds better than gold. And that would be more appealing to us. Yeah, they tested that ish, folks. Trust me, y'all getting played. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm surprised, Michael. We used to not agree on much. Now we agree on a lot. Most things. I like it.
We just need to talk some more. That's the thing. The more we talk, the more we see that thing do this.
Yes, and that's how it is. I was doing an interview for someone else's podcast, and they asked me about, would you go back and change anything? And I said, no. I said, what's interesting, I found out that some of the things that I said in the past that were controversial then, it took the world time to catch up with me.
Hello.
And now they're saying, where's the lie? I'm like, well, where were you back in 2013 when I was getting shit for that? Now you're saying, no lies told.
Tell me about it.
So you're right. Look, this is the vice president is pulling out all the stops this week for Black support, and mainly Black men.
Right.
She has a plan to bolster the finances of Black men, appearing in the interviews with 2 Black media outlets, releasing a pair of ads in battleground states targeted at crucial voting groups. And when you're talking about she's going on Roland Martin's show, and she's going on Charlemagne's Breakfast Club, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she's doing that. And then she's I'm sure she's going to do other stuff. She's going to do the Shade Room and whatever. So Black media. And then, this whole thing, I think she wants to give Black men help with, small businesses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So so I'm going to play a sound. I showed you the Charles Blow tweet. Let me play a sound bite. This is from Joshua Doss. I don't know if you know Joshua Doss, but he has something very interesting. And I think he's, I'll let you decide. Here it is.
Okay.
Now, so after 8 years of spreading misinformation about Kamala Harris's record, She locked up thousands of black men for weed. And we found out it wasn't true. They said it was when she was an attorney general in California. Then we found out attorney generals don't even prosecute weed cases in California. Then they're like, no. It was when she was a district attorney in San Francisco. So we pulled the record and we found out over the 7 years she was a DA in San Francisco, only 45 people went to prison for weed and they weren't even all black. So it was a complete lie, but it mattered. When we thought it was true, it mattered, right? So if it mattered when we thought that she locked up black men for weed, it has to matter that just this morning, she released an economic plan for black men that includes legalizing weed and making pathways for black men to make money in the cannabis industry. That has to also matter. If you are intellectually consistent, if you actually care about the things that you say you care about, one of those things cannot matter without the other thing actually mattering. And then it was, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because he gave black men a stimulus check of $1,200, right? And then we found out, we checked the records, we found out that actually it was the Democrats in Congress that gave it to black men and that, Donald Trump actually held it up and got in the way. But when you thought it was true, it mattered. Stay right there. When you thought it was true, it was enough to get your vote because Donald Trump was putting on for black men, right? Okay, so if that matters, it has to matter that Vice President Harris just released a plan for black entrepreneurs to get $20,000 in no-fault loans to start a business just this morning. That has to also matter. Be consistent, unless it was never really about helping black men in the first place. If so, then just say that. Why are you wasting our time? Just say that.
Mm-hmm. But he's forgetting, they're going to say, she's a woman. They ain't going to never say that.
That's thank you. When it's all said and done, this country has an image, and it includes black folks because we've been here since the beginning. So we ain't no different than white people when it comes to this. It has an image of the president and the presidency that is shaped and formed up until Barack Obama as a white man. Now, he broke that mold, but here's the thing, still a man. Mm-hmm. Still a man. And so we have this male view of power, control, executive leadership. And that is the piece that we're still trying to get. Now, the rest of the world has passed us by. The rest of the world's like, dude, no, it works when you put women in charge. Trust me. It
does.
Golda Meir.
The rest of the world realizes if you want to get shit done, you hire
you gotta put them. Because they know men just gonna mess it up. So we go every once in a while we gotta throw the lady in there to clean up the mess that we did for the last 15 years. And that's America's now coming into that. And it's trying to figure out how to do that. Just let it go. It's natural right now. I don't care if you're progressive or you're conservative. I don't care. It's not that. This is not what this is. This is about who in this hour is the best leader for the troubles we know lie around the corner. Mm-hmm. And that is, for me, from the very beginning, I saw it in 16, which is why I tried time out, folks. No, don't do this. I tell people inside the party, y'all don't let this man anywhere near the White House. Y'all won't do this. Nah, we can control him. Really? How'd that controlling go? And now we are 10 years later looking at the same prospect. And at the core, as we saw in 16, as we saw in 20, and as we see now, in 16, it was a woman. In 20, it was like, okay, we just got to get past because this weekend at Bernie's was too crazy. So now we're at 24. The other guy was too old. So you're still stuck with an old guy. So I guess age isn't as much as an excuse as you think it was, right? So what is the excuse?
Yeah.
What is the excuse?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this because I hate it. When we had the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and then people would say, "What about white lives?" And you're like, "Wait a minute. We know white lives matter. We get it. That we're talking about Black lives." Or if you're talking about AIDS, and someone says, "Well, what about cancer?" You're like, "We get it. Cancer cure is important, but we're talking about AIDS." You know what I mean? So we were just talking about black men. That doesn't mean that we don't understand that white women vote against their own interests,
right?
Or in the past. So having said that, okay, so I'm wondering what's behind this, and let's talk about that because this is you can tell me this is my very smart producer who helps me write, my takes on things. And you're going, I don't know if you're right about that. Think about it. Okay. So he said, voters weigh their various identities while doing the political calculus of deciding who to vote for. Okay. 2016, 2020, white women ostensibly prioritized their racial identity over their gender identity in voting for Trump. They chose white grievance and ignored Trump's long, sordid history of misogyny. In 2024, though, He believes that it appears a not significant number of Black and Latino voters are poised to do the opposite, prioritizing their gender identity over their racial identity. So they seem willing to ignore Trump's monstrous history and racist hate mongering and eager to accept his performative masculinity. Do you agree with that?
I agree, because it goes to the core of what we have lived in our own community. Go to a Black church and ask them whether or not they ready to make the woman the pastor.
Well, Catholic church too. Shit. I mean, I'm just saying.
Same thing. It's the same.
That's right about. In my recent book, I once was lost. I searched for God. I do write about that. Talk about that.
But if you want to understand, which is why what Barack Obama was saying, that's what he was getting at. It's like, okay, guys, let's call a spade a spade. If the pastor, a new pastor walked into your church and it was a woman, you'd leave that church. That's the reality in many corners in the Black community. Same is true in the Hispanic community. There is this overemphasized machismo and masculinity, which I find to be somewhat ironic, since the glue, the decision, the power, the authority in any Black household is the woman. It has been from the beginning. Yeah. It has been the orienting force in my household. I readily admit my mama ran the roost. And there's no question about it. My daddy would sit at 93 years old, would look at my 96-year-old mother and go, yeah, what she said. You know?
He was smart. He was smart. He learned from that.
And that's not bad. That's not bad. Some of that has to come out of what happened during slavery. And again, going back to that bottom rung of how the Black male has been perceived and treated since we first got here. We have been and still remain the threat to white men, period. Intellectually, politically, economically, socially, and they're able to tap into our basketball and football talents, our musical talents, our entertainment talents, and they can monetize that for their benefit. Here's a little piece, and then Prince goes, "Hey, time out, bitch. I want to own this ish." And then all of a sudden, dynamics start to change when the Black man starts to feel his way towards power. But there's that one last step that we still need to cross together with our women in sharing that power with them. Seeing them in that role.
There are so many men, especially men of color, who are behind bars now because they had a little weed on them or they did something. And now, there are people who are making millions of dollars on it, mostly white men in America. Well, Kamala Harris says now she wants to change that. She wants Black men to be able to monetize that, and these folks should be able to get out of prison. What is your excuse going to be after this?
Thank you. Because now the sister is in a position to help the brother get what the brother needs to do, and that is get to the next one in the ladder.
They always do. Come on. We stand up.
And so that is consistent with our history. It's consistent with our history. Every Black man, there's a strong Black woman behind him beating his ass when he's trying to go, "No, I'm not getting up to now, baby. Get up. Go out there. Do that thing. I'm behind you, boo. Do it.
You can do it. You can do it. I got you.
I just don't. I get it and I don't get it. And what bothers me is when it's exploited. And when, to be honest, it's exploited by some of our own for the benefit of someone like Donald Trump.
Yeah. Amen. So I saw this last thing, Michael.
Oh, no. Oh, Lord.
And I immediately thought of you because you have your little zingers that people used to make fun of. I don't know what they do now. It was kind of like, Dan Rather, you say, we're like, what is a Dan-ism? What is he going to say? And then there's a Michael Steele-ism. But I thought about you with this, and I want to see if you agree with this last thing. Here it is.
Help from the Caucasian race. Why did y'all stop coming up with phrases? Y'all used to be in y'all bag. Y'all used to give us some of the greatest phrases. When I was growing up, the older white folks used to say, "I don't give a rat's ass," or "You're skating on thin ice, buddy." Or one of my favorites, "Get a load of this guy." I feel like y'all just stopped doing that. What happened? Like, why y'all ain't giving us these good phrases anymore? I really miss y'all going like, "Oh, newsflash, pal." You know what I'm saying? "Hold your horses, bucko." My favorite one, off the rip, "Get a grip, buddy." I love telling people get a grip. That used to be my thing. See somebody acting out of line, man, get a grip. You know what I'm saying? Now we ain't got that no more because y'all just stopped making phrases. I need y'all to get back and make some phrases, man. I don't give a rat's ass. That's it right there. Rat's ass? Who? That was a bar. Who thought of that? Like, I'll never forget when I was a kid, I was acting up. And this older white woman goes, beat it, twerp. You ain't never gonna hear nothing that clean ever again. You never gonna hear beat it, twerp from anybody. We got lame stuff now. I need beat it, twerk back. I need twerk back in the vocab. I need twerk back. I need the Caucasians to get back on their job, reach back in that bag and give us some more phrases. I'm tired of what the young people talking about. I need some of that new stuff.
Michael. I was like, you know what? I do need that. I need some awesome sauce.
Look, even on my shows now in the Mississippi, I'm all about, I don't give a rat's ass. I will drop that in a heartbeat. I am old school like that. Brothers,
gosh
right?
darn. But my mom, what about the people who say, I don't give a good goddamn? That was more of a black thing.
That. Right.
That was a black thing.
That was priceless. I love it. We need some phrases, y'all. Come back with some phrases.
Wait, someone said,
on a good foot. Good God.
Casual Observer said in the comments, straighten up and fly right.
Straighten up and fly right.
Smith, Anton Smith says malarkey.
Yeah,
That's a bunch of malarkey.
I've used that too.
Teresa Merlin says pound sand. Beat it, twerp is what. NKN 11201 says take a long walk off a short pier. Susie Q says holy smokes. My favorite though, awesome sauce. Let's see. It's not about the phrases at all. Yes, it is. Go pound sand was hilarious. Pipe down was one. Pipe down. Cool your jets.
Yeah.
Slow your roll is one.
Slow your roll. See, this stuff.
Tony, give me a break.
Timeless, man. What you talking about?
Timeless. Michael, you're the best. I can't wait to be on. When are you and Simone, like my favorites? Like, when are we gonna? Do you know? And your co-host. Why can't I think of her name? Alicia. Yes.
Alicia Menendez. Yeah, Menendez. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we love it, baby.
It's great. We got to come on and play with you guys. And
when I hang up, we on it.
You got to shoot the shit. Is that one of them?
Shoot the shit. That's one. Shoot the shit. When you stop and think about that one, it could be a little messy. But
Michael, can you tell oh my gosh, GB says pie hole. Shut your pie hole.
Shut your pie hole.
Michael, tell the folks why it's important for them to hit the thumbs up, smash the like button, and subscribe.
Look, you do it, folks, because you just got a genuine conversation. You're in a real space. You may not agree with everything you hear, but you can show your appreciation and love by saying, you know what? That was good. That was good stuff. That's another one. Good stuff.
And all you got to say is, good grief. Gee Willikers. Why won't you do it?
Gee Willikers. Gee Willikers.
All right, bucko. I'm going to let you go. It's good to see you, sir.
Hey, Mrs. Cleaver. Can the beaver come out? I was always thinking to myself, now, were you asking about her son, or were you talking
my gosh, Michael, don't go there. Wait, do you remember Mrs. Cleaver on Airplane? Speaking Jive?
Yes.
That is one of my favorite movies when she's on the airplane. Come on, Jack. Cut me some slack, Jack.
Cut me some slack. That is a mojo, yeah. But that's it,
All right, Michael.
Come out.
Simmer down. Thank you, Michael. I'll see you later. All right, click off here. I'm going to talk to the folks for a minute. Now, come on. Where do you have this much fun? I used to have this much fun even on cable news, but where can you have this much fun? Guys, I'm so glad that you are here. It wasn't that great. That was a really great conversation. Jeepers Creepers is right, says always Sparkles. Jeepers Creepers. They even did a Jeepers Creepers on a sunglass commercial. Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Remember that? Anybody old enough to remember that? Red Jet Shell says, I speak jive. Hilarious. You guys are hilarious. We are having too much fun. Love your show. I love your show as well. Do you guys remember the Jeepers Creepers? Where'd you get those peepers commercial? That's for people of a certain age. Okay. So, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you smash that like button and you subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And we're going to see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for our Hot Topics, where that's my dog. You can hear him with his little chew toy. Where we're going to talk about, perhaps we're going to talk about Diddy. Supposedly there are some new charges or whatever, but we'll talk about all of those things. For crying out loud. Who said that? Yes, I remember Jeepers Creepers. Thank you. So here, the link of the show is in the top of the chat. Send it to your friends and family and coworkers and have them come subscribe. Okay? If not, I'm going to do like Novlet Hyde says, take a hike, buddy. Have a great evening. Oh, cook a great dinner. By the way, did I tell you last night what I did? It's a Sunday night. It's fall. It's a little chilly. We cooked I cooked. I made, have you ever had lasagna soup? I made a lasagna soup and it was delicious. I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Oh, wait a minute. No, you won't see me at 10. I lied. I'm sorry. I'm going to be on a train. I'm going to be on a train tomorrow because I'll be on CNN at noon tomorrow, noon Eastern, talking about politics and the Harris's push for a black vote and black men. So I apologize for that. I will make it up to you. I swear. I promise. Okay. So I'll see you tomorrow definitely for Live at 5, and I'll share what I did on CNN at noon. Okay. I love lasagna soup, says Andrew C. I do too. Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button, too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.